واغتراب فقير في الحياة من الصحاب ومن يأمنك يا دنيا الدواهي تدوسين المصائب.
Individualism is a curse. It harbors selfishness. It is based on certain psychology and philosophy. So there is absolutely no benefit of you to others, and you cannot even benefit your own self because of this. And you are a poison to your own kids if you have this sort of psychology or philosophy. On the other hand, the Muslim parents right now are not on the right psychology or philosophy as well. They're all about their families and their family structures, and they keep boasting about how attractive and how morally correct that concept is, even though it is as immoral, sometimes even more immoral than the individualistic philosophy of the West. That's why I said Quran is the only solution. Muslims are not supposed to have their family structures prioritized over the Ummah and over a global project which is called Islam. We are not scattered into serving our families. We are born into this planet to serve the whole planet, nothing less. So both of these faulty philosophies are cancers to the Muslim mind, the original Muslim order. And both of these cancers should be eradicated by following the Quran and making active missionaries of the Quran inside our own households. This family value system of the Pakistani man and woman, or the Muslim man and woman in the subcontinent especially, has become and has always been the reason of why we have never produced a genuine leader from this region, let alone a global leader. We do not have any true leader based on the stencil of the Quran, which came from this region. Because of this cancer alone, we have a very selfish value system, which raises the child into serving his own family only. That's the problem I'm trying to solve for the last 10 years now. See, there is no Pakistani value in England or Canada or America, because you cannot keep yourself dry in the middle of an ocean. You are in the ocean. The dominant culture is called acculturation. The dominant culture is going to seep into your system of whatever domestic or religious system that you have. It is going to seep into your philosophy and psychology, no matter what you do. There is no insulation against it. You are inside a dominant culture. A Western family moves into Pakistan. The Pakistani culture is going to acculturate that family into its own. You can see that in the minorities in the Muslim lands, they are a lot more Muslim than any other contemporary in the non-Muslim world. So it's called acculturation. You cannot fight it. I mean, you can fight it, but you need a very strong sense of community, and you have to have very regular and frequent bonding done by the community to your kids so that he can actually keep his identity and values intact. However, having said all of this, I already told you, I do not want the Pakistani value system of the families coming into the psychology of our Muslim kids. That is the biggest cancer I'm trying to fight against. We have produced way more selfish people, more malicious and conniving people, more cynics and skeptics a lot more than any other Western society. We have produced the enemies of Islam way more than the Western world combined. Any given decade, any given century, because of our fake, plastic, selfish definitions in the guise of morality, in the guise of Quran, in the guise of Islam. That's why you do not see any notable Muslim effort in the name of the Quran or in the line of Islam, which align with the life of the Prophet ﷺ or his companions. We do not see that because we're scattering into families and we're harboring family-based identity markers only. And those are the reasons why we do not see an Ummah, we do not see the Muslim community, we do not see Pakistani helping Iranians, or the Arabs helping the Iranians, or the Indonesians helping anybody, or the Palestinians, because we are all about serving our own families. And until my family is in danger, I'm not going to move. And that is such a small unit to take care of that my muscle is never going to be developed big enough or strong enough to fight the global or the cultural force, because I'm only trained to protect as far as my family can stretch. So those weaklings who can only protect their own families are not designed for leadership of the bigger group, let alone the globe. That's why Muslims are so easy to take over, and that's why Muslims are so easy to dismantle, because they're already dismantled into different families. That's why I'd rather be an individualistic, even though that's as big of a cancer as anything else. But I'd rather be an individualistic inside an individualistic culture than this cancer, because this is going to give me a false perception that I am on a moral high ground, even though I'd be committing a way bigger sin than all those individuals combined who are in an individualistic mindset. Peace, love, and harmony in the Western world. That's where the problem is. We're supposed to create peace, harmony, and love in the world, not the Western world. We need to have a Muslim man or woman trained for a global mission. If we were Dalai Lamas and training Dalai Lamas and, good-looking monks in our homes, we would have been on a moral high ground and would have been walking around carrying the mission with pride. It is us as Muslims who do not have any pride because we've not known how sensible Islam is and how sensical Islam is. So we are ourselves are broken and at some level embarrassed by our own philosophy. Now, I know the Zionistic agenda keeps on pumping money to make sure the hatred against Muslims is a common narrative, so that whenever they actually poke into Muslim lands for their own objectives, a general sentiment of resistance should not start to fly around. This is something which I know for a fact, because I've done a lot of research, and I know even the sums of money paid to different organizations, media, and others to spread hatred against Muslims by design, so that their political objectives can be met easily. And Muslims were not given the true identity, and these Muslims who are actually on the philosophy of Buddhism and assuming that they are doing some job of the Quran, add into the bigger problem, and they lower the price to be paid to the Islamophobes by the enemies and the criminals. Because we ourselves, even if nobody was paying anyone for Islamophobia, our identity and our objective in their own selves are enough for people to look down upon us. Why do you think we do not look down upon the monks or the Buddhists? Why? Why do you think only Muslims are in the lowest performance category around the world in any faculty which is worth serving a global objective? Muslims are not even visible and cannot be visible because we're not designed to serve the globe or help the human progress. Even if some Muslim is there, he's not doing it for Islam. He was trained out of Islam when he was 8. He's just doing it for whatever secular objectives he has or whatever personal whims that he's trying to chase. Number 3, once you have the political and financial independence, you use that attitude and confidence into setting the policy and setting the law by your own argumentation. If you are in power, your arguments all of a sudden are going to carry a lot more weight. So unless you are in power, you are financially independent, you're politically very savvy, and you're connected to each other, you're not going to be able to chase out or chase away any kind of hostility from, even if it is from a minority inside the system. So only those people who are in power, who are competent, who have higher IQs, who are performing in their own domains, and they're connected together, are the people who do not face any kind of hostility. Otherwise, even Jewish communities face the most amount of hostility in every part of the world. But they have to come together competently and politically, using their financial independence as their instrument and channel all of that unity into serving their own objectives from the book that they believe in. So from the book that they believe in, we are lacking in that attitude because we do not have performers, because we do not have the IQ to perform, and we do not have the objective to raise that IQ. So I'm not training myself or my kid for the Olympics. He's not going to get enough muscle to perform anywhere. If I'm training my kid to run only for his own street, he's going to have a tiny little muscle, and he's going to have a false confidence that he's on a moral high ground, even though he's a nobody compared to anybody who's being prepared for a bigger objective and for a bigger game.